Yes, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to Veterans Minimum. I'm your host, Nick Deus. At Nick Deus10 as you can find me, veteransminimum.com as you can find all things VM. My guy is back in the building. Josh, what up, baby?
Man, how's it going, brother? Everything's good. You're already checking out my feet.
Listen, bro. All right.
This is 3 for 3 now. I gotta keep you on your toes as much as I can.
You do. So I was on a podcast over at Sticky Paws.
Yeah.
And it was the Next Level podcast with Dr. Leslie. And she asked me, she's like, what's the first thing you notice in like a woman? And what's the first thing you notice in a guy? And I was like, I could be weird. And I wouldn't put it past you, but immediately when I meet a dude, I look at their feet.
Yeah, that's what you said.
It's like you got to have a nice pair of shoes, sneakers. They got, I'm a sneakerhead. Yeah. So immediately it's like, yo, what's up? And I look down and I judge immediately. If you got some crusty Air Force Ones on, like, we can't have that. So you gotta look sharp, man.
Yeah. Well, all right. So for women, what's the first thing?
Come on, bro. What are you trying to do to me?
Right? I mean, listen. You know what I'm saying?
I like teeth.
Okay. Like in terms of
smart, like the whole,
off brand. Like once you actually are in her space.
Yeah.
Teeth. Okay. All right. Eyes for me.
Well, yeah. I think the face is like the obvious one.
Well, no, but like eyes, like if you have like really, really gorgeous eyes, that already sets the table for everything else.
Yeah.
It buys you some advantages that other people aren't gonna have.
Yeah. Dude, I saw this girl one time. Her eyes were so crazy that I said, you have soul-snatching eyes. And that was the first thing I said to her.
Legit.
And then we started like talking at the bar. It was pretty cool. My friend was like, yo, what'd you say to her? I was like, I was hammered too. I was like, dude, you have soul-snatching eyes. She's like, oh, thank you. I never heard that before.
Because
like, it would be an honor. It would be an honor.
That's a good start. That's definitely a good start to the conversation for sure.
Yo, last time I had you on, we were talking about, we did some NBA stuff.
Yeah.
And people really enjoyed the conversation with you. So I figured, I was like, yo, Josh is my guy. Got to get him back on. And I want to give us a soft golf clap for completely ruining the Brooklyn Nets. Because I don't know if you remember.
Okay, all right.
But I made the case about Durant as an MVP candidate.
Yeah.
And we talked about Kyrie, and we were like, yo, no one's really talking about Brooklyn because Durant had gotten hurt. He was hurt at the time.
That's right.
Kyrie was having his Kyrie stuff. And we're like, yo, when they get back, watch out for Brooklyn. I think the next week they traded both.
The whole ship came apart at the seams 2 weeks later.
Yo, for real. And then you have the Knicks, who they lost yesterday, bro, and they lost to the Hornets at home.
Yep.
And Josh, I don't know about you, bro, but there's certain teams you can't lose to. And especially when you're playing as well as the Knicks were, like they were coming into the game 9 in a row.
That's right.
And you're playing them at home, bro. And it's like, what the hell, dude?
Well, I'll say this. They were due for a letdown game.
Yeah, I get that, but not against.
Well, see, but the other side of it, too, was not only letdown game, but then also Brunson was out. Brunson had been hurt. So I don't think, like, he's the type of guy, and he's proven me wrong. Because I was like, why is everyone all over, over the moon with this Jalen Brunson signing because I wanted them to get Spider Mitchell so bad.
Right.
So when they didn't, it was like, Brunson.
And don't let Knicks fans fool you. And as a Knicks fan, when you had Mitchell and Brunson,
yes,
it's like, yeah, obviously we want Mitchell. But now, bro, Jalen Brunson might run New York. Of all the athletes in New York, he might be the number one.
That's fair. That's not a lie.
Yeah.
For sure. And look, and that speaks to the strength of the Knicks, right? Like that speaks to who the Knicks are. When the Knicks are playing well, we've talked about it on my show. Like when the Knicks play well, it's a different energy. The Garden is a different place. But for them to lose to the Hornets, granted the Hornets have had a little bit of a down year, and now also lose to the Hornets without LaMelo because LaMelo's out for the year. That's a bad loss. It's not the one that you wanted, but that was their first loss since they even made the Josh Hart trade. So, we'll see. We'll see.
Don't you feel like guys, the Josh Harts of the world, sometimes when they reunite with a dude like Brunson, and you saw the video when Brunson found out that Josh Hart got traded.
Yeah.
He was at like a hockey game or somewhere. He was somewhere else with like his friends and family, and they're showing the video of him being hyped. That immediately told me it was going to work out.
Yeah.
And do you think that there's a lot of guys in the league, And we can even take it further and go like across all sports that are just in a bad situation.
Oh, 1,000%.
And that's why they're not getting the love that they should.
Oh, 1,000%. We just had Peyton Barber on right after the Super Bowl, and Peyton was talking about just, one thing I want all fans to know is the situation is a much bigger deal than people really give it credit for. Whether you're in the wrong system or whether the front office really believes in you. And I was talking to him about, people will be like, oh yeah, this is our guy, but then they'll undercut you and they'll go draft someone at your position, or there'll be the whispers about trade stuff and all that stuff. It shows up. Like, some players can block it out. Some players have a harder time doing that. And, we're all human. I put it out there like this. If you were at your job and, you had been promoted or whatever, but then they were constantly whispering about firing you, how would you feel?
Yeah.
You'd be walking around on eggshells and uncomfortable. Your job performance would go down. So like all that stuff, it plays a bigger part than I think people really give it credit.
Yeah, it's like what was it, like senioritis when you were in high school?
Yeah.
They're like, the last like 3 months, you don't even care. You just want to get out because you're not going to be there.
That's
so
right.
if you're on a team and it was the CJ McCollum thing that we talked about last time.
Yeah.
How it wasn't a slight to CJ McCollum that every time teams were doing these hypothetical fake trade packages that he was the key cog in that trade. It's like, bro, they weren't going to get rid of Dame because they want to build with him. That's the guy that they want to improve the team for. And also, that just shows how valuable you are because in order to get a Durant to come to Portland or a Kawhi Leonard to come to Portland, an all-star, you would have to be the guy to get shipped out to go there.
Because the trade isn't going to work the other way around.
Exactly.
We're not going to trade Dame for KD,
right?
Because then we're in the same spot. You come over and it's like, well, we might have won 2 more games.
Yeah,
that's about the most.
And it was interesting with Josh Hart because they're 9-1 since they got him.
Yep.
And quickly, I've been talking about this for years, bro. Even when I was back home in Queens and I was recording my show, he's the one dude on the Knicks that him and Obi.
Yes.
Where the crowd just loves them. And I think it's because they were drafted and it's like that homegrown thing. And Obi especially was a Knicks fan growing up. Yeah. And, dude, when him and Quickly get going and, he catches an alley, he fade away 3 or Quickly goes on those heat check runs.
Yeah.
I've never heard the Garden like that, bro.
It's a
not never. I should say it's been a while
recently.
Since, yeah.
In this post renovated Garden.
Yeah, like bro,
Yeah.
the crowd goes bananas when them two in particular go off, and then you saw quickly on Sunday they take the Celtics to double OT. Celtics at full strength. Knicks didn't have Brunson.
Yeah.
And quickly went crazy. Had like over 35 points, was shooting well and facilitating. And
I'll tell you who Quickly is for, yesteryear's Knicks.
okay.
He's Starks. He has that kind of an energy around him. Like, because if you really think about John Starks when he came to the Knicks, he wasn't a starter. He was just happy to be in the league. And the energy that John Starks got, especially after, they attacked the Bulls and all those kinds of things. John Starks, he can still walk around New York to this day and not pay for a meal.
Yeah.
Because people love those teams. They love Oak. They love him. Not so much about Charles Smith, Charles Smith with all the misses, but but the rest of those guys, all those guys, man, they still eat off of the Knicks to this day. My brother still eats off the Knicks to this day. And he was only there for a year. So like, if you can capture that fan base, that's why, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere in the world, because that fan base, those fans, the pressure breaks people. It just does.
Yeah, and I've mentioned this so many times, bro, that there's not a team in the world, I would say the world, that if they won a championship, the city would react the way it would.
Yeah.
Like, I think the
I
people have,
know.
yo, you don't even, whatever my expectations are, it'd be 10x. Dude, like, it would be crazy. The Knicks go on a 9-game winning streak, and they're getting bets on winning the finals, and people are like, yo, we could take the Celtics in a 7-game series.
What do you think quickly about the Knicks? What do you think their chances are?
So this was one of the conversations I wanted to have with you, because I think this team is different from the years in the past, because they go on these little win streaks, and yeah, you would get excited, but realistically, you would say to yourself, and they might not even make the playoffs.
I know the truth.
Yeah, we know how it's going to be. But man, they're not intimidated by everyone, by anyone, I should say. They have a guy who in Brunson that could keep everyone calm, can do like what a real point guard could be. And yo, they got pieces, dude. I think they could go 8 deep, which is something that I look at in the playoffs. You got quickly off the bench. You got Josh Hart now, that impact and dynamic. He's closing out games for him. So to me, he's a starter. Like me, if Ginobili was the greatest sixth man of all time, but every
he
5 minutes,
he wasn't.
every 5 minutes left
Sixth
in
man
the game,
got 40 minutes.
right? Yeah. Well, every game that mattered, he'd be out there with 4 minutes left.
Yeah.
So to me, like that's really your starting 5.
Yeah.
Right. And there are exceptions, like maybe a guy is 7 of 8 from 3, and he's just his night.
Yeah.
Like, yo, Steve Novak will have you out there in the corner. Like you're feeling it tonight. For the most part, Josh Hart has been closing out games for them because they have that nice dynamic with Brunson, like we mentioned. I think the Knicks should try to get to the 4-5, stay in that 4-5. I think they could take the Cavs. It'll still be a tough matchup because Cleveland is probably saying the same thing to themselves, right?
Yeah.
Like of all the teams you could play, I would much rather play the Knicks. But the Knicks actually got dudes that can make plays, and Randall still scares me that he's our bucket getter at the end of games, or he's a guy that he probably leads the NBA in the no, yes, jump shots, right? Like, dude, that used to be J.R. Smith, another Knicks icon. Where
it had to be a heat check. It had to be hot.
It was
sure.
always like that, bro. And Randall, there's a bunch of times where even that shot against Miami that he hit a couple nights ago, at the buzzer, you're like, no, fade away to the right, like, oh, he's so going crazy. But dude, that's the thing. The Knicks it's fun. They are on pace to have, with 4 more wins, it would make their second best regular season record in 22 years.
What's their record right now?
Right now, they're currently at 39-28.
4 more wins?
Yeah.
43 wins?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So
wow.
Yeah, and think about that. Like
they
had that 53-win season with like Melo, the Roy Hibbert at the Cub play.
Yeah.
Back in 2012, I think it was.
Yeah, it was somewhere.
It was around there. It
early
was like,
2010s.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. Because I mentioned Roy Hibbert. Like the Pacer teams were still the team that would always give people fits. But yeah, man, it's been a while. So I think that they can win a series. They match up against the Cavs, or even another team that I want to have the conversation about. And I want to preface this first by asking you this question.
Okay.
Anytime you have these regular season matchups in the NBA where everyone is at full strength, and you'll see a Suns Mavericks, you'll see a Bucks Sixers, Celtics Sixers. James Harden is a guy who I've been picking on for many years come playoff time because I financially invested a lot of money in the Rockets and he would always let me down. Paul George is another guy who, you look at his box score, for every 30-point game he would have in the playoffs, he'd follow up with 5 or 6 3 for 13s just, you're like, yo, where's Paul George at? But then you see them in these regular season matchups against teams that they know they're going to run into. And then they up it.
Yeah.
And then they deliver in that big spot. My question to you is, does that perception in the regular season game of a guy like Harden, a couple of nights ago, they played a marquee matchup, and he played well. I think he had like over 20 assists in that one game. We're close to it.
Yeah.
Does that change anything for you come playoff time? Or is it still going to be James Harden's going to lay an egg like he does?
Well, first off, it comes down to matchups. So, who are they playing? That's the first part of it. What's his history against this team or this coach? But for me, Harden, Harden's had a great career, but he also has shrunk in moments, and he hasn't been willing to change, because the biggest thing about Harden was always, he gets all these fouls. When you get to the playoffs, well, then those fouls are harder to come by. So if you're getting 15 of your 35 points at the free throw line, and now that 15 drops down to 5, that's 10 points.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I went from 35 averaging down to 25, and I'm still trash on defense. Stuff adds up.
Yeah.
all those, you start taking away 10 points. It's like, oh, it's 10 points. Like, no, that 10 points was critical. You know what I'm saying? And then to your point, offensive, defensive rotations, we're only going 8 deep. So those 10 points, I'm not able to find those on the bench because that was your 10 points. You're getting more time and less points. Stuff adds up. And then you're not giving me anything on defense. Yeah, that's kind of those are the little wrinkles when you get to playoff times where it's like, oh, we can only run this set so many times and it ain't working no more.
And also you shorten your bench, like I was talking about with the Knicks.
1,000%.
Like D'Antoni and those Rockets teams, they'd sometimes just run like Eric Gordon off the bench. That was it.
No,
6-man
no
rotation.
more gas.
That's it. Like, yo, you're playing. If you're in foul trouble, too bad. We gotta leave you out there. Like that's what they were doing. But that's also a reason why you see that happen. And in the playoffs, I think that's the one thing that a lot of people don't really think about. It's so matchup dependent too.
Yeah.
Like the best team might run into that one team that just is a nightmare matchup for them.
1,000%.
And then you're not going to see them win the title. Or it's an injury that comes along, which leads me to the Bucks, where they quietly just went on this wild ass winning streak.
Yes.
And everyone was still talking about, because it was sandwiched in the middle of Durant goes to the Suns, the Jokic MVP season, Kyrie goes to Dallas, and Embiid is also putting up these monster games. And it's just like, all right, man, I'm just going to go and win, 16 in a row they won?
They won 16 in a row.
And it's also sandwiched in between the Knicks going on a 9-game winning streak. So all these things are happening all at once. And I do feel as if that's the team to beat for me, bro, across the
Bucks.
Not just the East.
Wow, the whole league.
Yeah.
Wow.
Battle tested, been there, done that.
Very true.
They have, a top 4 guy in the league right now? Maybe 3? Maybe the top guy in the league. And they just got Middleton back. And I think there's a chip on their shoulder of they should have won the finals last year also if Middleton didn't get hurt. Woulda, coulda, shoulda, right? We don't like playing those games, but I think that's a big reason why. And to me, they're a team that they're the favorite and they should be.
I think the chip is even really from people kind of downgrading their championship because everyone got hurt in the West, remember? That was the year everybody got hurt, like all the teams that were in the West. Like the Suns were the tallest midget, and they made it to the finals, but they weren't really ready to make it to the finals. Truthfully, they'd had a great year, but it was like nobody was taking the Suns serious. So it was like, Giannis, if you don't get it this year, I don't know if you're going to get it, baby. So, for them to do that, but then people kind of to downgrade that, not as much as I'd say that Lakers bubble title, but it was still a weird, we were still kind of in COVID and all of those things. I wouldn't put it past them. I definitely wouldn't. And they're going to be a tough out for anybody. Boston, Philly, anybody that has championship aspirations, the Bucks are going to be a tough matchup.
Yeah, and I just pulled up their playoff run too, and I feel like there was even not just the West. Remember the Nets?
Yeah,
like Harden and Kyrie were banged up in that series. That's right. And then everyone would nitpick like, yo, if Durant was a size 13 sneaker or whatever, because that shot at the end that should have been a 3, but it was a 2 because he was on the line. Yeah. So they discredit them for that. And then in the conference finals, they had played Atlanta, and it was like, all right, Atlanta kind of overachieved.
That's right. Like, that was the Trae Young year. That's right.
That's right. It should have been the Sixers. So you're right. They do have a chip that's about 2-3 seasons long now. Yeah. And to me, dude, Brook Lopez is having a monster season too. Yeah. And they got the pieces. They've been there, done that. To me, they're the alpha. And I think in both conferences, I think it's Celtics, Bucks, then 50 feet of dirt and everyone else.
Okay.
And then in the West, I don't think it's 2. I think it's the Suns, bro. I really think it's Phoenix. And you just now, if you're Chris Paul, you gotta be looking at it like, bro, how many more chances am I
now or never?
It gotta be, right? Because now you got Booker and you got Durant. They are a little worse defensively because they got rid of all their defensive staples in order to get Durant
and youth.
Right.
I mean, you give up the youth too. You give up those young horses that are willing to dive for loose balls and just put themselves in positions to make stops. Those old dudes, it's 50-50. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I'm like, I got 15 more possessions that I got to worry about.
Yo, and isn't it wild that Mikal Bridges now is just dropping 30 every night? How many dudes in the NBA could go out and get 30 if they were given the opportunity to?
All right, I'll give it to you this way. The NBA, it really comes down to who are we running sets for? So when my brother played in the league, he was a player that he had maybe 2 plays run for him the entire game. 90% of the league, these guys can do it if given those opportunities. If you're going to get 20 shots a game, like we're going to give you 20. You have a 20-shot green light. If you can't average over 18 a game, you're trash. I shouldn't say trash, but you're definitely
That's what the expectation would be?
Yes, you're messing up. Like 20 shots, bro, that's 40 points, and that's not saying threes. You know what I mean? Like for him to do it, he's been given a situation where they don't have anybody, so it's like we got to run these plays for somebody. So it's much easier than you think to get 30 if you're given the green light to go shoot and go play, and nobody's really holding you back. You know what I mean? Like the few times, like my brother, I think his like career high was 35, and Jerome went nuts that game. Like, you know what I mean? Like for a player that doesn't get the ball or doesn't get like it would be like Draymond Green. How many times you see Draymond Green drop 30 plus? You can probably count one hand how many times it's really happened.
I can't even remember like a 20-point game that he's had.
But
he fills the stat sheet with 9 steals, 18 assists, rebounds,
all the other stuff. But he's out here setting picks. Right. My job is I'm getting paid to free up Steph and Clay.
Yeah,
that's my job.
It's wild because I always think of those videos of the people that call out. What's his name, man? Brian Scalabrine. Yeah. But like dudes will call out Brian Scalabrine,
cold,
and then he'll go to a park and just like 11 zip them, 13 zip them. Bro. And it's like, bro, you don't understand the level to this. Like, there's only 400 of them, right?
Well, I think I can't remember what the number is. I think it's like 1,500, like ever in the 75-year history of the league. It's only been 1,500 players. Like, really, really, really quantify it that way. Like,
yeah.
It's been a 75-year league, 1,500 dudes.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Damn, that is wild.
That's crazy. Like that. I don't remember if that's the number, but I know it's not like some astronomical number. It's like, 10,000 players have played. No, it's under 5,000.
Yeah.
Like ever.
Yeah, and then you see these dudes when they go, like they'll go overseas.
Yeah.
And then
drop 40.
Like Stephon Marbury has statues in China.
That's right.
Like, all over the place because he's just like the best player they've ever seen.
The Beijing Ducks.
Yeah. It's always fascinating. Like I wonder how many dudes can go out there and just drop 30 effortlessly if they had 15, 20 opportunities to go and do so. Not all right, here's your 3 shots. And if you miss one of them,
shots, you're coming out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or even in your 3 shots, you're sitting here thinking about all this other stuff. You know, they always talk about it being a make or miss league, but you know, it really, really truthfully comes down to opportunities. You know, when you see, I forget the other guy on the Nets when they first made those trades that was dropping all those 40-point games.
Oh, Cam Thomas.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, Cam Thomas, he was sitting on the bench. He wasn't getting 35 minutes a game. Like it's easy I won't say it's easy to do, but you have a greater opportunity to do it. Look at Kuzma going to my Wizards. You know what I mean? Kuzma was, he might have a flare-up game where he gets hot, where, they'll feed you because you're hot. But when you go to a situation and it's like, no, these are your package of plays. This is how many times we're going to go to you. And then you actually start to feel that within yourself. It's all about confidence. You give me the green light and I can shoot it without hesitation. It's a totally different game.
What team do you think is the favorite?
The favorite? That's tough, man. This year is weird, bro. It's really weird. It's truthfully going to come down to matchups. I think back to the Suns, if they don't do it, it's literally a missed opportunity. And these guys aren't getting younger, especially Chris Paul. I think Kevin Durant still has some runway left. But Chris Paul, how many years is he going to give you top 10 point guard in the year? You know what I mean? In the league. Devin Booker, he's still young, but that team, they have to do it. If they don't do it now, it's I don't think
it's wild. He's still young and he's in year 9.
Devin Booker, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. He's like year 9, like, yeah, I'm about 26. 26? Did you get in the league at 12? Like, what is going on? Yeah.
Yeah. So I have the odds here, right?
Okay.
And like I said to you, I think the right team is favored in Milwaukee. They're tied with the Celtics, both at plus 320. And then you got the Suns at plus 440. Nuggets plus 700. I'm not buying it at all, man.
No. No.
I think that they're a team that's a great regular season team, and they'll make it out of round one. And then if they play a Suns, it's just a tough matchup for them. And Jokic, I think a lot of what he does well shines in the regular season, but not come playoff time.
No, because in the playoffs, I won't say it exposes things, but it gets harder, man, when teams are really locked into what you do.
Have I told you my my bias towards if your go-to scorer is a big? I'm not a fan.
Well, all right, look.
Now, if it's a big like Durant or Giannis,
that doesn't count.
right? But I'm talking about like a back to the basket. That's my go-to scorer.
I'll ask you this. So I actually posted a video about Shaq the other day. I'm not sure if you saw it. And I was talking about how he would still dominate in today's game. So if you had prime Shaq, so I'm saying like 98 to 2002 Shaq on a team right now. You take Shaq out and you put Shaq on the Nuggets right now. What do you think that team could be? He's still Shaq, and he's Jokic. You're not getting the assist and all the other stuff, but you're getting Shaq.
I think the Nuggets are as good as they are because of Jokic being the most unique ball handler at that size and the way he facilitates. So all of Shaq's titles have come with amazing wing.
Yeah.
Like even the early Orlando days with Penny.
Yeah. Nick Anderson, too. Yeah, Nick Anderson, D. Scott.
And then he had Kobe.
Yeah.
And then he had Wade. So I just don't like, I'm throwing it down.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, I'll tell you this. If you put a dominant force like that in today's game, who is stopping Shaq right now? That is what I would say to it.
I get that, but don't you think a guy that could create a shot, like a fadeaway shot or pull from three, or just to be able to create a bucket, it's easier to game plan against a big like that than it is
like versus someone that's out floating on the wing.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of different unique things that they can run. I'll say the one thing that would screw Shaq still to this day would be free throws. So they would beat him to death. But I don't know, man. Like, because there's no giants. There's no giants anymore.
right.
And especially dominant ones where it's like I could just do what I want. Like Shaq could drop 40 easily in today's game to me because there's no who's stopping him. There's no one stopping him. You know what I mean? But because like really think about bigs in today's game now. Like when's the last time you saw a post move? Like somebody got it and like yammed on somebody. That doesn't happen in today's game. Like that's not that person doesn't exist.
Yeah. The game has changed though. That's why too.
Yeah.
Like everything it's all threes. We were talking about it last time how if it's 120 to 118, there's 11 seconds left. You know what everyone's doing. Step back three because it's way cooler on Instagram and on social media. They might even give you the lane, but everyone's gonna step back. Like that's the Luka thing.
Yeah.
That's the Luka thing.
That's fair.
Before we wrap up on the NBA conversation, we need to have the conversation about Ja Morant because
have to.
Man, oh man, what is going on?
Man, well here. I'll give me 1 second. I actually did some research for you today. So Ja Morant graduated high school in 2017. So this is a 6-year run for his life that, has skyrocketed, right? Graduated in 2017, had one offer. He was on the same AAU squad as Zion Williamson, and so they've been friends all the way since then from South Carolina. One offer to Murray State. Freshman year, doesn't do a whole lot, averaged about 12, 13, 14 a game. Second year is the year that we found out about him, where he had the highlights and was averaging 24 a game. Cool. Again, he was a one-star recruit. He was even really a no-star recruit. Get drafted number 2 overall, right behind your best friend, Zion Williamson. Zion gets hurt rookie year, COVID, all that. Get rookie of the year. Then make 2 all-star games. You get your shoe. And now we're throwing up gang signs and flashing guns on live where you have to physically push live. You sure you want to go live? Yes. Acquiring signal to go live, like all of those things, and you still thought this was a good idea. It's unfortunate, man, because, when it comes down to it for me, you know, all the work that he put in these last 6 years. Gilbert Arenas was saying that, he was a tier one star. He just got a shoe. He was a tier one superstar in the league. And now he's gone back to a tier two, tier three. And he was saying it's going to take him like 3 years for the NBA to trust him enough to put him back at a tier one status.
It's also wild if you look at the path that the Grizzlies were on too as a franchise, because dude, they were so lovable last year.
Yeah.
Like everyone's young, they're so exciting, the energy. It's a different variation of what the grit and grind Grizzlies were. Zebo,
what was the
Tony Allen,
bone saw?
Yeah, like
grindhouse. Grindhouse is what they were calling it.
They would beat you 89 to 86, and it was the most boring game. They were the only team that cared about defense. And then you look at this team now. They have all the dunks and Ja Morant every night. Yeah. That's why, I tweeted out when this first went down. I wake up, I check Twitter. I see Ja Morant trending. I'm like, oh, who do you put on the poster?
Yeah.
And then I see the gun wave. I'm like, oh, what is happening, bro? What is happening? Do you think he got the wrong people in his circle too? Do you think that there's some athletes that just because of your friend, you've been friends with someone for so long and you grew up with them, don't mean that they're the right people for you too? Yeah,
and that's probably the hardest thing. I mean, anybody in life. We all have street friends, and as you elevate, of course, you still hang out with your people, but like to keep them with you, it can be dangerous. You know what I'm saying? But for Ja, Gilbert was talking about he might have to cut his hair. He might have to go that rogue where it's like you have to distance yourself from everything street. You know what I mean? Like, because it's like it sucks, but you got to play the game. And when it comes down to it, this is a corporate game. You are working for corporations, and $1 billion are on your back, literally.
And also, he's such a popular figure amongst all.
I love him.
Like everybody.
Yeah.
How could you not? His game is so exciting.
Yeah.
Every time he goes to destroy people on these dunks. Like he wants to violate you in every way possible.
Every way he can.
Every time you're like, oh my God. And then when he hits the ground too, you're like, oh, he just blew out his knee. Because like the way he contorts his body also.
Yes.
Like, oh man, there goes the ACL. And then he just gets up, dusts his shoulder off, and he just keeps going. It's wild. Like this team, they were so lovable, and then like there were so many pieces, guys that were, late round draft picks. And
I coached Dylan Brooks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because Dylan played for Finley out here. So I coached Dylan. Shout out to Dylan Brooks. Dylan had the worst knees I'd ever seen in my life in high school. Like literally, his knees were worse than mine, and I got some bad knees. And I was so proud of him, man. Like to get to Oregon and then just take it to the next step. Now he's Stone Cold Steve Austin walking into the arena. He's growing a little bit of a reputation, but like you said, that team, Bane, they have a lot. JJJ, they have a lot. It's unfortunate because especially when it started at 2 games and now it's quickly shifted to out indefinitely.
Yeah. Yeah, it was funny how the Grizzlies social media said that Ja is going to be out for the next 4 games. It's like, that's a weird way to say someone's suspended. Right? Like he's going to be away from the team for 4 more games at least. Oh, dude, they're saying also 50-game suspension potentially if this
50 game?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Yeah,
that's the rest of this year. And then
that's their season. That's their season.
And it sucks because they just got leaped by the Kings. And we gave love to the Kings on last episode. Did you think that we'd still like?
Man, hey, we gave love, and then they showed out, kept going.
They kept going. We kind of set it up as this team peaked. They're gonna regress a little bit.
That's right, because we were talking about the second half. You're right.
Yeah. And right. Dude, they're the 2 seed now. They leapfrogged the Grizzlies.
Wow.
But I think it's just sad, man. You have everything going for you right now. You're 23 years old. You're becoming kind of the face of the league.
Could be one of them for sure.
I mean, dude, I have 2 younger cousins. They're 8 and 13, and it's the social media TikTok era.
Yeah,
and their guys are Luka and Ja.
Yeah,
for that generation,
1,000%.
And to have this turn out to be the case with Ja Morant is devastating.
Well, I mean, really think about it. Think about the other young stars, like young stars. He's outside of Luka, Zion's always hurt. And
Right.
then Zion, I haven't really seen a Zion highlight in seasons.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Because, like, I don't really watch SportsCenter and stuff that much anymore. But, like, now I can tell if you're doing something, if you hit my phone. Like, if you do something where even if I'm not watching or following your team, you still find your way onto my phone, you've done something. Because I'm not actively seeking you out. You know what I mean? Like, you're finding me at this point. And I haven't seen a Zion highlight in forever. That's how I just know where he's at. Like, it's like he's playing well, but it's like, I don't know. He ain't duking. This isn't Duke anymore where you're out there doing something every day and everybody's going crazy. Like, I can't remember last time. I know he's your guy. I'll back up off of Zion.
I love Zion.
I know you do. I'll back up off his head.
Yeah, but yo, look, the things we've seen with Zion have been all the red flags coming into the league.
Yeah.
His health,
his weight.
Yeah. Is he going to hold up? And so far, all those people that had those question marks, they've been validated by that.
Yeah.
Missing a lot of time, dude.
He has, and it's continuous. It's like it never ever gets to the other side.
He needs to do what Embiid did. Whatever Embiid did, because remember Embiid, the first couple of years, he was having the same stuff.
Yes.
And then I think in the last 6 seasons, he's missed 60 or 70 games.
Yeah.
Which, if you were to tell 76ers fans that when he was coming out,
yeah,
or he would come in and drop like 30 and 20 and then he'd miss 6 weeks.
Yes.
If you're telling 76ers fans that, yo, eventually in a 5-year stretch,
he's going to be an MVP candidate.
Yeah, they'd be like, what? Are you kidding me? Of course. Yeah, sign me up. So whatever Embiid did that offseason that changed it for him, where he started getting healthier, Zion got to kind of do the same thing. Because I probably punted away. I definitely punted away that money, but I bet the Pelicans at 60-1 from the beginning of the year. And it was because it's the 5-5-5 deal. Like, I like what they could have put out in a game 5, down 5 on the road. There's 5 minutes left. Like, that starting lineup with Ingram and with CJ McCollum over there. And then you throw Zion in because of what they did to the Suns last year in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Took the Suns to 6 after playing a play-in game to get into the playoffs. And now you're fantasizing, you're like, yo, you get Zion in there too? I mean, I just donated, but that was my logic behind it.
That 7 seed now is probably the scariest team, I think, in a lot of ways. And when you talk about, you know, the Kings being the 2 seed, for them to have to play potentially like maybe even the Warriors or somebody like that out the gate, that's gonna be no picnic for sure. Both the 8 and the 7, especially in the West. The West more than the East. The East, you know what I mean? Like, they might give you a couple games here or there, but you should do what you got to do. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's definitely going to be an interesting playoff run.
All right, enough about the NBA. A couple of quarterbacks got some money this week.
They did.
My quarterback got some money this week.
Yes, Daniel Jones. Yes,
Daniel Jones got a contract, 4-year deal, $82 million guaranteed. The Giants got their guy. What are your thoughts before I get into my spiel?
My thoughts are this, and I said this to you before air, and I've said this to a few of my Giant fans. This is the best case scenario for you, simply because as a Redskins fan, I'll start and preface it there. As a Redskins fan, I have been looking for a franchise quarterback for 30 years. 30 years. When you have one, even if it's one that you're like, we can win with him. I think that's the first part. Can you win with this guy? Not like, oh, what is he projected to be or what is this? Daniel Jones showed you with competent leadership and competent coaching, you guys are a playoff team with him as your quarterback under center. The market for quarterbacks is far tougher than it would be to find a running back. And so, you know, I talked about on my show, you know, putting all your eggs in the Saquon basket and then franchising Daniel Jones. Not only are you paying more on the front end, but if you give Daniel Jones like a prove it deal and then he goes out and kills next year,
it'll be even more money.
Now you're owing even more money, and you've tied up even more money with your running back. So it's like, to franchise Saquon at 10.9, you take that every day of the week. So that's how I feel. I mean, you guys can evolve the offense. The biggest thing, I know we've talked about it with football. The biggest thing with football, especially on the offensive side, is continuity. And if you guys have a quarterback that now you can continue to grow and progress within your system, bring in some receivers, the sky's the limit. It helps the team. You keep the team young. It just makes sense.
I think what happened with Daniel Jones is public perception from the time he got drafted and then how the first couple of years in the league played out. I think people are still holding on to that.
For sure.
And
fair enough.
Is it fair? Is it unfair? I don't know. I wouldn't argue against either direction you want to take it. But what do you replace him with if you don't give Daniel Jones this contract?
Exactly.
I'm not overly excited he's going to make north of $40 million a year. But would I rather have Davis Webb or
one of these rookies
or one of these
Will Levis?
If they had a higher draft pick, yeah, I think if the Giants would have had a crappy season, then we wouldn't be having this conversation.
No.
They would have moved on.
Yeah.
But I also think that I would have preferred the franchise tag on Daniel Jones because then it would validate if what we saw last year with Brian Daboll is what he's going to be now moving forward. Like he found his coach that works well with him. He had a career year.
He did.
And a lot of people are like, yo, Jimmy G threw more touchdown passes than Daniel Jones and he played 6 less games. It's like, bro, the way he ran that offense, no one else can run that offense. He had 700 yards on the ground, scored 7 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And also, the one thing that I've heard from some people I know at the Giants is that they love him.
Yeah.
They see him every day. He's at the meetings every day, practices.
He's a worker.
They're with him all the time. The players go to bat for him. They were calling him Vanilla Vic. All the guys, they had shirts.
That's Vanilla
Vic.
Vic.
It's like everybody is behind them. So that weighs a lot to me too.
Yep.
And I think when you're looking at Daniel Jones, it's like, bro, look, I like Isaiah Hodgins. I think it's a great story. The Giants brought him over, Schoen and Dable brought him over from the practice squad of the Bills, and he was our number 1 wide receiver. But it's also
it says what it has to say.
Right. Kenny Golladay was a nightmare and a disaster, and Shepard went down. Robinson, the second round
claps
pick.
to your whole team for finally getting rid of Kenny Golladay.
Yeah, I mean, that was you take an L on that, and that's the best and worst thing about football contracts.
Yeah.
Because it's the only sport where a team can have a quick turnaround. If those contracts don't work out, it's like, all right, man, we'll take it on the chin this year and next year, and then after that, we'll cut them, which is what the Giants did. As opposed to, dude, I'm a Mets fan. I saw the Mets give Johan Santana $150 million, and he threw the perfect, not the perfect game. He threw a no-hitter, first time in franchise history, and it was a disaster the next 4 years he was playing because he threw like 146 pitches.
Hey, man, listen.
But then the Mets had to pay that salary for the next 4 years, so no matter what, they couldn't make any moves because, oh, man, we got Johan for 25.
I'll just say, especially now that I know that you're a Mets fan, Bobby Bonilla, it is what it is. You guys haven't had the best record with.
That's just thinking ahead. That's called managing your money.
Wait, but did you see that you saw that you guys got out of the Bobby Bonilla deal finally? You saw that, right?
No, did they?
Yeah, this is a couple years ago now. But now you turn right around and do that with your closer. They have him stretch for 15 years. I was like, oh, come on, man.
Listen, man, the trumpet slaps, right? When he comes out, the trumpet slaps. But yo, Daniel Jones, on a serious note, right?
Yeah.
He's throwing to Isaiah Hodgins. He's throwing to David Stills. He's throwing to these guys where it's, you want him to go out there and throw 400 yards. He can't. He doesn't have the weapons. Not everyone is Mahomes who can do that with MVS and with Kadarius Toney and Juju.
Hey, Kadarius Toney looked good I'm sorry.
No, you're not. You don't need to apologize.
I'm sorry that happened for all Giants Nation.
But this is the reason why he got let go is what you saw with the Chiefs also. He'll have 3-4 dynamic plays, or he'll have 1 or 2 games where he's lights out and then he misses 6 weeks.
Yeah.
But that's the MO of his career. The Giants just didn't want to put up with it. So I think what they did with Daniel Jones is it's a contract that they know what they have.
Yeah.
And now it should only improve because this is going to be the first time that he has the same offensive coordinator and head coach coming back.
That's right.
Like the combination of both. He's had the same coach twice, but then the OC left, or it's been the other way around. So I think it's fair to say that the jury's still out. But if it's what it's going to look like now moving forward with how he played last year, and you're only going to be able to improve the team. And guess what? It's an $18 million cap hit this year.
Yeah, it was nothing.
And they're kind of doing, remember Tom Brady with the Pats? He'd be the 17th most expensive quarterback.
That's right.
And you're saying to yourself, how's that possible? But then you see, oh, Brady signed a $30 million signing bonus. It's like, oh, that's why. So you're giving him those signing bonuses.
Not even just that, but then also, Brady with his TB12 brand, all the wellness stuff, they were paying that like 15, 20 million. So
he was making his money.
He was making his money.
Yeah, clearly. So I like it, man. I like it. I can't believe this time last year I wouldn't have felt this way, but I got to see what it was going to look like with Dable. And what they did with Saquon, I think, is great. You franchise them, and hopefully they can re-sign them. But I don't think this Giants brass, like Saquon wasn't theirs.
Yeah.
And they come from Buffalo, where they said, let's get the wide receivers and let's get the quarterback, and then we'll fix everything else. And all right, Devin Singletary, they made way with that. They made it to the AFC title game with Devin Singletary. They don't really value that position like that.
Yeah.
So I think that's what you're seeing with them franchising Saquon Barkley.
I mean, it makes sense. To me, it makes sense. Especially too, going back to just playing in New York. One thing that you can always say about Daniel Jones that you can't say for, the other quarterback in New York with the Jets, Zach Wilson. He's never been a baby. He's taken some bad seasons on the chin, not said anything, not complained. So for him to have been through that and then have a playoff year, you have to validate those things. Those things actually do matter, man. They do. They really do.
And his teammates never threw him under the bus.
Not once.
Wasn't it Elijah Moore was like, yo, I'd be more productive if the quarterback could give me the ball. Just blatantly called out.
Just little, you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff has never taken place.
It's never happened, yeah.
So even when they had bad seasons, like legitimately bad seasons, so those things, I look at all those things too. And to make it in New York, man, again, if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. And for him to be the quarterback in New York, look, that list literally is Eli Manning, Phil Simms, with a slight dash of Kerry Collins.
We've mentioned franchise tag a couple of times. What do you make of the Lamar Jackson stuff? I had a video go viral, me defending Lamar Jackson in the beginning of the year. It was like week 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And it made no sense. It still makes no sense to me how that entire situation has been handled, especially when you look at his peers. The guys that he's been grouped with have all gotten paid, and he's clearly better than all of them, and he's more accomplished than all of them.
Than all? Who are you saying are peers?
So the guys that got contracts last offseason coming into this year that Lamar Jackson was grouped with, it's Deshaun Watson. That is a nightmare off the field.
Okay, that's one.
Kyler Murray.
Yeah, better.
Dude, he's won MVP. He's made the playoffs every year he's played.
Better.
Right? Josh Allen got paid. Lamar's more accomplished than he is.
More accomplished, I wouldn't say better.
Fair.
More accomplished.
Fair.
For sure. Yeah.
But if he's making that kind of money, why shouldn't Lamar?
Yeah, not a question. Again, I've been on the cover of Madden. I've been MVP. Like, yeah.
And you see what you have behind you in Huntley. I know he made the Pro Bowl, but
that when I saw that, it was like, how? Wait, what?
Yeah, this is why no one watches the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, pretty much.
And every year that he's been healthy, and I think a lot of times he's gotten hurt because they've asked him not to run. Like that's what makes him great. And he's gotten hurt when he's not on the run and improvising. It's when they want to make him a seven-step drop back passer. It's like, yo, that's not his game. What makes him great is that he goes out and runs. And I love Justin Herbert. I think he's in that. It's no longer in that discussion with Mahomes. Now it's Mahomes and then everyone else. Yeah. But he's in that tier 2 with like Burrow and Allen, and he's never won a playoff game. Right? Prior to this season, he never been in the playoffs, and we're coining this guy as the next dude at the face of the league. And Lamar is just looking at it. I'm more accomplished than all these guys, and in some cases, I'm better than them.
Yeah. And look, in every case, none of them can do what I can do. So you can't, you know what I mean? Like, even if you can say, okay, he might not be the passer that this guy is, none of those guys can even begin to claim that they're the runner that he is. So, you know what I mean? So it kind of equals out, like if you say, okay, Justin Herbert's a better drop back passer. Okay, cool. Well, he's not going to give you 12 to 13 touchdowns on the ground either, to go along with 25 to 30 passing touchdowns. So, look, to me, it really comes down to Lamar being his own agent. And I feel like the negotiations got contentious in some ways. And
don't you feel like you need to have someone? Feel like you have to have an agent so they can tell people certain things that you can't. You can't tell your GM like
just go screw yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
politely.
and Bomani Jones actually just posted about this and was saying that, and I was like, you know what, that's fair. What I will say to that, especially in a situation where you're in Baltimore, where they have a healthy front office, they have a good, ownership to management relationship. Like there isn't any, everyone's on the same page in Baltimore. Whereas in certain teams like mine, you know what I mean? Like it's disarray everywhere. The Capitals, Ovechkin, Nicholas Backstrom, they don't have agents. They know what the market is. They know what the market says that I am. Pay me that. There's no negotiation. We're done. We don't have to, it doesn't have to be all this back and forth. If the ownership says, hey, this guy isn't going to leave, and I'm saying, hey, I want to stay, then let's just, what are the numbers? What's fair? Then give me that. But for them to have all this other stuff, there's some real discussions about what's fair or what his number should be. And that's where I think that it gets disrespectful because, look, if the numbers are saying he's $250 to $300 million guy, that's what he is. You pay him that. So.
Yeah. Well, he signed they offered him a non-exclusive franchise tag,
yes,
which means that he'll actually make $32.4 million this year.
Yep.
If they go into the season with that. It's not exactly a traditional franchise tag, but also it gives him the option to go to talk to other teams. And if, say, the Commanders were able to talk to Lamar and say, yo, here's the offer, 5 years, $250 million.
Guaranteed.
Yeah. Or whatever, $160 million of it guaranteed. The Ravens have 5 days to match that.
Yeah.
So it's like an offer sheet kind
That's right. Yeah.
But again, I feel like that's disrespectful, bro. They've been disrespectful to him.
Well, look, I'll say this for that. If all you have to give up is 2 first-round picks, yeah, you kind of figure it out. Now, for my team, there's been a lot of speculation, especially with the whole, spoofing and, trolling from Adam Schefter, getting the internet to go crazy over him going to the Commanders. I actually want to go out there with Sam Howell personally, just because my team never, ever has our own quarterback. We've lusted after everyone else's quarterback for the past 20-plus years. RG3 was about the only time period where it was like, oh, my God, we might have had our guy. Every other time is like, man, what if Brett Favre came to the Redskins and all that other stuff?
You guys ended up ruining them too.
Ruined. So, I mean, for me, I would actually like to see us kind of run it out there with Sam just because it does help to not tear into the fabric of the team because we have a lot of first-round picks that we have to pay. You know what I mean? We just franchised Deron Payne.
It would be a blessing if Sam Howell could be anything.
Yeah, well, I mean,
we're not even saying to be a
Mahomes
guy. Yeah, but just to be all right. We can win some games with him.
Man, look, I'll say this: if Eric Bieniemy can make Sam Howell 2/4 of half of what he made Patrick Mahomes, we win 12 games.
Let's not get crazy.
Well, no, look at it this way.
I know the NFC is bad. But
no, but look at it this way. We won. What was it? Seven games? No, we won 8. We won 8-1. I'd say 7 of our games that won or lost were 2, 3, 4-point games. Eric Bieniemy, if we average, I think we averaged 18 points a game last year, 18 or 19. If we average 24, 25, we win all of those games. All of those games. That's 7. That's 7 games going back to the good. So if maybe we won 2 of those, you pick up 5 more wins. That's a 13-win season. That stuff adds up.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know you're a numbers guy. Look.
You know what I do think will add up?
Yeah.
I think you're going to see a way, way better record from the Saints next year with Derek Carr going there, which I said on this show. I said, if there's a team he should go to, it should be the Saints. Because there were some rumblings about him going to the Jets.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, you can't play in New York. It's under 40,
You don't-
40 degrees. Your career record is like 3-17.
Oh
You're not-
no, really?
Yeah,
I
he
didn't
has-
notice that.
Dude, he has bad numbers
Oh, I didn't know that.
under
All right.
under 40 degrees. And it gets
Okay.
cold in New York.
Yes.
Like spiraling conditions out of nowhere at MetLife. And it was a bad fit. And I felt as if you're looking at the landscape of the NFC, the best team for him to go to that needed a quarterback was New Orleans. They have a top 10 defense. They got some weapons. Who knows what happens with Michael Thomas, but Olave's dope. Kamara out the backfield. They have a
whoa. Kamara?
yeah, pending. Pending. You're right. You're absolutely right. Michael Thomas, like we mentioned.
Yeah.
And he'll be indoors.
4 games a year because you know what I mean, with the well, not 4 games, but in terms of in division.
Right. You'll have
You got 4 games
you got
with
4
games
with
in
the
division.
Falcons.
Yeah, with the Falcons.
And I was saying for months now how he's a top 4 quarterback in the NFC if he goes to the Saints.
Wow. You're gonna go well.
Tell me the 4 that are better right now. What we know
That we know in the NFC.
I said Jalen Hurts,
Okay, Hurts for sure.
Dak, Kirk, and Carr.
Oh God, you're gonna go Kirk?
That's how gross the NFC is.
Good Lord, hold on. We gotta find some more. Give me some names.
Every team in the South Division, we don't know who their quarterback is going to be.
That's fair. No. That's
Desmond
fair.
Ridder.
That's a whole division.
Yeah,
That's fair. That's a whole
Lamar
division.
Jackson's being linked to the Falcons too.
A lot.
So that whole division. Sam Howell, let's not get crazy. I know we got crazy about 15 minutes ago.
No, that's fair.
Daniel Jones, I don't think is a top 4 guy. I think Carr is better than Daniel Jones. I mentioned Dak. I mentioned Jalen Hurts.
Jared Goff. I'm trying to tell everybody that'll listen to me. I said this year that the Lions were gonna be scratching at the playoffs. Next year, the Lions are gonna win 12 games.
Yeah, everybody is on the Lions.
12
I would just
games.
pursue with caution. That's all. I think.
Well, here, I'll put it to you this way too. Look at their division. Green Bay, you don't know what they're going to be. I said before the season this year that Green Bay wasn't going to make the playoffs, and everybody thought I was on crack. And I was like, Green Bay not going to the playoffs.
I was big on Minnesota. I was very big on Minnesota. I thought they should have been the favorite coming into the year. I got them at plus 280 to win the North Division.
Okay.
I couldn't believe it because you had the Hard Knocks momentum from the Lions.
Yeah.
You had the Packers coming back with Rodgers, and they were just the 1 seed the year before. Bears, like no one was really buying into the Bears. And I thought Minnesota was severely mispriced. I felt like the Eagles were severely mispriced too.
Wow.
I had them as the favorite over Dallas, and they ended up being the 1 seed. Dude, I had a 30-1 ticket back home on the Eagles to have the best record in football. I was all in on Philly.
Wow.
Yeah, I was all in on Philly.
Wow.
But I could tell you off rip, Minnesota next year, I'm taking the under with the utmost confidence. They had the best record ever in 1-score games, bro.
Good.
It's not going to happen again.
No.
It's impossible for it to happen again.
Kirk is going to Kirk. I tell people this all the time.
So with the Lions, I would just be careful. I do like a lot of what they have, but I don't think I would put Jared Goff up there.
Jared Goff had like the best passer rating the second half of the season of all quarterbacks. I say
they also got the rookie that came in too. That opened up a lot
Jamison
of
Williams.
things for him. Yeah.
That and that's I was literally about to say that's the other part of it as well. If you bring back DJ Chark again, DJ Chark made some big catches, but he was dinged up because he's always dinged up. But like for what they can put out there offensively, I loved their scheme. They were very, very imaginative, and they had a lot of like Lions are gonna be all right. Their defenses continue to get better. If they get another corner this year in the draft, Lions are going to be a problem.
The 2023 New Orleans Saints are going to be the 2022 Philadelphia Eagles.
Whoa. You're going that big on the Saints?
They're going to compete for a bye week.
I'll say this. Their division is trash. Because
so is the conference.
Oh, well, but look, to your point, their division is bad.
Yeah.
Their division is bad depending on what happens in Atlanta. But my thing to you, I think that hurts them is they're like over the cap by like $30 million, $40 million.
Yeah, they're going to have to make some adjustments. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so like,
that up.
What is going to change for them?
Like, Carr got so much shit this year with the Raiders. And
last few years, frankly.
Right, but this year, and he ends up getting benched, and it was like, bro, how much of it was on Carr? I went back and I looked at the numbers, and I was just watching a couple of box scores, and I was watching some games too, and having conversations with some people that cover the Raiders, and a lot of it was the concerns that I was coming in. My buddy Kenny, shouts to Kenny King Jr. He has a podcast here with Blue Wire. I've had him on the show a bunch. He does a show called Real Talk where he covers the Vegas Raiders, and he was giving me a lot of heat because I said that they were going to go 6-11. And
The Raiders.
Like, yeah,
the Raiders
he's like, dude, we got Devontae Adams. Like, we got better. Everyone's coming back. I'm like, bro, you guys were like 8-1 in one-score games. You went undefeated in overtime games. Like, that's not going to happen, bro.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. And your defense is still a little suspect.
A lot.
And then
suspect.
what happened? Like, they were losing all their games by one score. They were like 0-6 in one-score games.
Shoot.
It's just hard. I'm telling you, man, if there's one thing that anyone that listens to this show takes away, that one-score game thing is a real thing. Because
1,000%.
Dude, the Giants and the Commanders that play in the end zone, where I was expecting the flag to come in, no flag. I start laughing my ass off because I couldn't believe a flag was coming in. Next year, that probably gets called.
Yeah.
And then it's first and goal from the 1 yard line. So
I don't even want to talk about it.
by the one-score games.
Listen, I was at the tie. Okay, I was there.
Oh,
and
poor guy.
And the throw to Terry in the back of the end zone where they gave us the flag and they picked it up and it was like he got like completely because that was in the far end zone. Like those things matter, man. Like when it was a touchdown and then you take the touchdown off the board and now we're kicking a field goal or we get an interception. Like I went to some. This was a bad year for me going to games. Did I see any wins? I don't think I saw a win.
You gotta let me know so next year I can bet the other side, bro.
Well,
at least we get a little bit of a benefit.
Usually when I go, I win. Usually, but yeah, no. I went to the Titans Redskins game where Carson Wentz threw the pick like down at the goal line to end the game. I was there for that one. That was sad, but I did get to see De'Ami Brown like have his greatest career day. Right. That was nice.
2 touchdowns he had, right?
Yeah, like bombs too. Both of them were big touchdowns. So, yeah, it was a rough year.
Dude, it's always fun when I get to connect with you, whether it's on this show or on your show. Love talking hoops and football with you. Tell the people where they could find all your content.
Yes, sir.
Your show.
Yes, sir. The name of my show is The American Fan 365. Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook. You can find me on any of those. All about connecting fans with the players as well as the front office. That's the ambition of my platform. So, please follow, like, share, subscribe, check the stuff out. And, always happy to be on with Veterans Minimum and, spending time with you. And like you said, just talking hoops and about to be in March Madness. So excited for that.
If you guys want to check out Monday's episode, it's already up on the Patreon, patreon.com/veteransminimum. Boss and I answer all of your questions, the People's Podcast. At Nick Day is 10 as you can find me, veteransminimum.com as you can find all things VM, and we'll catch you guys next week.